This is James Randi, and you're listening to The Skeptic Zone.
Welcome to The Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason. Here are your hosts, Richard Saunders and Stefan Soika.
Hello.
Hello, Richard.
Who are you?
It's Stefan here. Remember your old co-host from way back?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Stefan.
Yeah, nice to see you again. It's been a while.
Where have you been?
I've actually just come out of cryogenic freezing.
That's why we haven't heard from you.
I've just been unfrozen. Yeah, I actually went in about 6 months ago. I thought the world is just in a terrible
because you were on the show about 6 months ago.
I was, and I should have let you know, but I just didn't.
You went into cryogenic freezing.
Cryogenic freezing, because I was going to email you about it, but I just didn't have time, and I thought the world's just in a terrible state of affairs. I'll just go to sleep for 6 months and wake up again. It's even worse.
You shouldn't have.
It's even worse now. But it's good to be back, and especially apparently I've checked my calendar.
Oh, yes,
I've checked my diary. It's show 400.
Show 400. Can you believe it? Almost 8 years ago, you and I sat exactly where we're sitting here in the Sirius New World.
But
incredible office and
headquarters
of the media conglomerate that is Sirius. We sat at this very desk. You sat right there. I sat right here. We had the microphone right here, and we said, "What did we say, Stefan? I don't know.
I do. In fact, it's very vague recollection, but probably we would have started with a theme song, and then
the original theme song.
Yeah, we would have. We might have gone a little bit like this.
That's it.
Sounds a bit Star Trekky or something.
Welcome to The Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia
Lost in space.
for science and reason. Here are your hosts, Richard Saunders and Stefan Soika.
I wonder what we said.
This is truly a miracle. Richard, we're back. Stefan, we are back. This is amazing. After all these years.
You know, it took us... How many years did it take us to escape from the tank?
The tank, that's the show we did before.
Decades. It was last millennium sometime.
We sound so young.
We do sound young.
We're out of the tank and we've gone into the zone.
You better stop that before we get too nostalgic about it.
It's amazing.
Wow.
So that was us sitting here 8 years ago.
I'm temporarily dissonanted right now because I have no idea what time zone I'm in.
It's funny. It's like it's I don't know. It's like hearing a ghost. We're sitting here in the same spot, hearing our own voices from the past,
from
right?
8 years ago. That's right. But now we're in show
400.
You have to say that it's an absolutely huge effort of yours to actually have produced every single one of those.
Produced every single one of them
without fail. No matter what you've gone through in your life, you've churned them out.
Yeah. What the hell, eh? I don't know what I'm thinking.
So what are you thinking this week?
Let me tell you what I'm thinking this week, because it is a show. We're going to get on with the show. We're going to have it's lots of little things this week. Our main interview is with our good friend Michael Marshall, who's in Liverpool from the Good Thinking Society, Liverpool in the UK, of course. Because there's a Liverpool here in Sydney.
Oh, there is.
I was only there the other day. And he's going to be talking about a great victory they've had over homeopathy in the UK.
Oh,
about time. I mean, that's really under the
I would like to hear about
pressure.
That. Yes.
That's coming up. That's our feature interview. We've also got things coming up this week. We're going to be introducing our new reporter.
A new reporter for show 400.
Absolutely. Very exciting.
Landmark.
You'll meet her a bit later on in the show. What else is coming up on this week's show? Just yesterday, I went to the Supernova science fiction and fantasy sort of convention here in Sydney, which is huge.
Yeah, so
you and I went there years ago.
Many, many years ago.
We did a report, didn't we?
Before us cryogenically frozen.
Yes.
And it was pretty big then. How could it be much bigger now?
It's whatever it was back then. It's much bigger now. And what a great day we had. So it was myself, Maynard, and Tim Ferguson from the Doug Anthony All-Stars, the legend, who does the Bunga Bunga podcast with Maynard.
Oh, with Maynard, that's right.
And Tim comes on the Skeptic Zone every now and then to say hello. And so we do a little bit from Supernova, which is really fantastic. And also we've got an update on a report we had last week about the Australian Labor Party's promise in the upcoming election to cut funding, subsidies to iridology and aromatherapy and stuff like that. We have an update.
Time. I mean, I can't even believe they started funding them in the first place.
You're absolutely right.
Yes, we're going to cut funding. Well, what have you been doing for the last 10 years? Funding it.
Funding it, yeah. Anyway. And I want listeners to know that I am the guest rogue on the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe right now. In fact,
is that right?
The episode that comes out the same day as the Skeptic's Zone.
Even as we speak.
Even as we speak.
Oh, it's a multi-dimensional world we live in.
But that's their episode 571.
Oh, yeah, but they probably cheated somehow. They probably skipped 100 or something just to try and get in front of us.
But no, that was good. It was good to be on the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe. Now, Stefan, before we get stuck into the show, so to speak, I want to bring our listeners up to date on an interesting story that's been brought to our attention, again, about the upcoming election here in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
Now, there's a party who are running a Senate candidate here in the state of New South Wales in the federal election called, I think, was it the Health Party?
Health Australia Party.
Health Australia Party.
That sounds very
healthy.
Wonderful, doesn't it? Health
does.
Australia.
Now, they have, because it's I believe it's a random process, they have, their party is the very first one on the ballot paper.
Yeah, they've drawn pole position on the ballot paper. Yep.
And a lot of people, unfortunately, when they go to vote, they turn up and
they just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They don't care, right? So they'll write at 1 in the top position.
That's right.
And the warning is, this party is not all that it might seem. And we've got a clip that was on TV just the other day on the ABC The Drum program.
Oh,
so if you just play that.
Yeah, this was Cheryl Curnow, who used to be the head of the Australian Democrats.
Yeah.
Which, they had their day.
They had their day.
And she's anyway, let's have a listen.
Exposure alert. Like, pay attention, please, when you go to vote for the Senate in New South Wales, because the party which got the number 1 spot, so that's whether you vote across or whether you go to fill in underneath, is called the Health Australia Party. And you might be deluded, you might be misled into thinking that they stand for all things healthy, but in fact they are opposed to standard immunisation for children, preferring homeopathic immunisation and claiming that it has 90% rate of effectiveness. Ooh. Now, you know, I would hate to see one person with those beliefs holding the balance of power in the Senate, and nobody knows how those numbers are going to turn out.
And how much of an advantage does it give a candidate to have that number 1 spot on the ballot?
There are still people who think you only have to vote 1, I'm sorry to say. That might help. People who don't care, they just go in and they see it. David Lionhelm was elected from that position. He did have the word liberal.
She talks about some other things, but the important message is people in New South Wales, when you go to vote, and you get your Senate paper, please bear in mind that the number 1 position on the paper is this party who are anything but a health party.
But then again, Richard, I mean, they may have crazy views about immunisation, but their other policies could be absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, you might be right there.
Yeah, they could be just an anomaly in their thinking.
Right. I'd hate to see the other anomalies.
Okay, well, that's a good warning. So anything else you want to say before we kick off with this show number 400?
No, Stefan, I can't think of anything else except that you and I should run downstairs and raid your kitchen.
Well, that used to be a very regular thing around here, and I believe you have a penchant for peanut butter.
I remember now that when I used to come round here and do other work and things, I'd always, for lunchtime, I'd run down and raid your peanut butter
sandwich. You're quite welcome to. Let's get the show on. We'll take a little break, home into the peanut butter.
Let's do that. And while we're doing that, we hope you enjoy
the Skeptic Zone Show 400. And I must say, after being cryogenically frozen for 6 months, I am famished. Let's get a feed. Let's get the show happening.
Let's do it. joining me now all the way from Liverpool, as he does from time to time, and aren't we glad to have him? I think he is an honorary Skeptic Zone reporter, whether he likes it or not. It's our good friend Michael Marshall. Hello, Michael.
Hi, Richard. Hi to all the Skeptic Zone listeners. Yeah, I do come on the show from time to time. It's always a pleasure to be able to speak to skeptics down under, really.
Well, a pleasure indeed, and you'll be able to do it in person yet again. Let's talk about this briefly. You're going to be a special guest at our upcoming convention, which is in Melbourne this year. How exciting is that? Because you made a great impact when you were here. Was it at the end of 2014 when we had our big convention in Sydney? This year you'll be in Melbourne.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I absolutely loved coming down to Sydney for the conference you had there in 2014. So I've been fortunate enough that the Melbourne guys have invited me back, and I really can't wait. I mean, I really enjoyed seeing the parts of Australia that I did and meeting so many people. I think the Australian skeptics are amongst my favourite skeptics in the world. I think you guys really have got the sort of the style of things and the passion and things for skepticism that really fits the kind of stuff that I do. So yeah, I really can't wait to meet everybody again.
That's fantastic. Did you, when you were here last time, did you get a chance to visit Melbourne?
I didn't. I went to Sydney and I went to Brisbane. But I didn't get anywhere else. So it'd be nice to see somewhere slightly different. And I hear very, very good things about Melbourne.
Oh, Melbourne's fantastic. What a beautiful city. It's just full of culture and interesting things. And the Melbourne people, the Victorian skeptics and the Melbourne skeptics in the pub, and there's lots of groups in the state of Victoria, skeptical groups that are very active. And I'm sure you'll be meeting all of those people coming up. It's another reason, folks, listening to this here in Australia, to run to the website, which I'll tell you about a little bit later in the show, and get your tickets for the Australian Skeptics Convention. And you can meet Marsh in person. I mean, you just can't get better than that,
I mean, you can meet all the other people who are speaking there too, which if anything, is more impressive. I'm quite an unimpressive person in person, but I'll be there and I'll be happy to meet anybody who wants to come up and have a chat. And that was the thing I really loved in Sydney, was just having people come on up and just having a chat from people from all sorts of different kind of backgrounds with all sorts of different interests, and just showing you how kind of vibrant and lively the skeptical community is. I love that. I really do love these conferences. Obviously I put a conference up in Manchester in the UK, and I love just getting so many different people with so much interest in skepticism, so much passion and enthusiasm. You get these people together, and it's that we're all in this weird thing that we do together. And I think that spirit that really comes through in conferences like the one in Sydney, and I'm sure Melbourne would be exactly the same.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I've been to many conventions in Melbourne over the years, and they're always a highlight, and they do a terrific job. And while we're on the subject of conventions, and you mentioned it briefly then, QED, of course, I've had the pleasure, and what a pleasure it was, of speaking there twice, 2 years running. I found myself in Manchester for QED, and it's certainly one of the better skeptical conventions going. When is it this year?
So this year it's October the 14th to the 16th. So that's the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And so it's a little bit of a different style to QED this year. Normally we have the main stage with all our speakers doing a normal talk, and then we've got a panel room that runs at the same time. So you've got this terrible choice of what to go and see. But this year we're actually adding a third choice in, because we've got a podcast room that's going the whole time too. So we're really giving people some pretty tough choices. What it really means is that whichever room you end up in, there'll be something really interesting to see. And that's the way to look at it. It isn't about what you're missing, but about the things you get to see. I
seem to remember when I was there chairing a panel, and it occurred to me when I was looking at the program that I was chairing this panel. That's fine. And I looked and I thought, oh, I'd rather be in the other room watching something else.
Yeah, I get that myself, because I sort of run a few panels here and there. And it's always, I try and manipulate the scheduling so I'm not opposite. It's something I really want to see. But the problem is that we put so much things on that I'd quite like to see that practically I never get a chance to see any of it anyway as one of the organisers. But we always have really great things. And there should be hopefully something like 600 people there this year. So it's been growing year on year, and it's getting pretty big, really.
Well, I think I better run some promotions for that soon. I'll talk to you later, Marsh, about that. But let's get back to what I really contacted you about, and this is very exciting news. And we mentioned it briefly on the last episode of the Skeptic Zone, the news about homeopathy. But I'll let you take it away, Marsh, because this is really good news, and I think it's going to lead to really good things.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I mean, it's really the culmination of something that we've been working on with the Good Thinking Society, the charity that I work for. We've been working on this for maybe about 2 years, but yesterday, as we were recording this, Liverpool Clinical Commissioning Group, which is Liverpool NHS, our local health service, has announced that they're going to stop funding homeopathy. And this is a really significant move because in the country, there's about 209 of these different health bodies called CCGs. And there's really only about 25 of them or fewer that actually still fund homeopathy. So it's been tailing off and declining for a good number of years. But the ones that were still left had a real tenacity for various reasons of that homeopathy service staying. So it was actually in February 2015 that Good Thinking wrote to Liverpool CCG to say, you're still funding homeopathy, you've just made this decision to fund it, and we're looking at this decision, and we don't think you've acted within the law. We think you've actually acted unlawfully there in the way you're spending the public money. We think the consultation was really flawed, so we think you've got to have another look at this. And after a couple of months of back and forth, they agreed with us that they needed to have another look at it. So it's taken all the way since then of us being in contact with them and helping them put the consultation together and being part of that. But so yesterday's result really is a culmination of 2 years' worth of work for the Good Thinking Society, probably 7 years' worth of work, doing little bits of pressure here and there by the Merseyside Skeptic Society that I obviously co-run as well. So yeah, it's a really great moment, not just for Liverpool, but the fact is this is a marker. And so the next CCG that's reviewing it is just over the water from Liverpool. We can use the same kind of process and point to the Liverpool decision, and we can write to all the other CCGs that fund homeopathy and say, look, Liverpool's making a step away from it. It's time for you to do the same. And we think this could be something where we can roll it from one to the next and really get homeopathy on the run and off the NHS, so we can actually spend the money that we're currently wasting on homeopathy on stuff that actually works.
You know what, it just occurred to me listening to you, you know what I really love about this is you've probably heard the same, and I bet some of our listeners have heard the same too. It's the old argument you get from homeopaths and like-minded people along the lines of more and more scientists are coming around to our point of view, or more and more societies or more hospitals are using it and it's growing. In fact, you can demonstrate quite clearly it's the opposite.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no credible, respectable body that has any support for homeopathy. And this was the point that we really made to Liverpool CCG, because here in the UK, we've got the government commissioned a full report on homeopathy, much like the one that happened last year in Australia. And that said homeopathy is not worth funding. And then the NHS themselves, they've got a website, NHS Choices, that says we shouldn't fund homeopathy. The chief medical officer came out and said we shouldn't fund homeopathy. The General Medical Council, the GMC, have come out and said it. The pharmacists have come out and said it. So everybody has come out and said we shouldn't fund homeopathy. And this was part of the argument we said to Liverpool, was that, you know, even your own government and the NHS itself is telling you not to fund this stuff. You really need to listen to that, listen to the evidence. What was really encouraging, what was really very encouraging, was that the way that this whole thing has worked, in the past, these kind of consultations where they go out to the public and ask them what they think about homeopathy, I think in the past, skeptics just would not see those consultations. And in fact, it was in 2010, there was a similar consultation in the Wirral, so just within Merseyside, just the other side of the water from Liverpool. And we as skeptics did not know that consultation took place, because we don't know where to look traditionally. I mean, if you're just running a local skeptics group, as I was at the time, how do you know where to look for conversations being had in local government that you can be part of? It doesn't cross your mind to look into this. But because I now work for the Good Thinking Society, and it's actually my full-time job to look for these kinds of things and to push for these kinds of things, we were able to spot this consultation. Well, we actually were able to press the CCG to even have this consultation. Then we were able to be involved in their plans for the consultation to make sure they weren't flawed, to make sure they weren't asking the wrong kind of questions. And we were able to sort of make sure that their questions were fair. And then once they went to public consultation, we were able to go to members of the Merseyside Skeptic Society and say, this is a consultation happening in your area where your views would be missing from this conversation normally. But here is your chance to say whether you think homeopathy should be funded in your area. And what always happens traditionally in these conversations is that everybody who's for the alternative therapy or for the thing that's under threat or whatever will come out and say, we need to keep this. It's really important.
Yeah.
But all the skeptics who would say, well, we need to get homeopathy off the NHS would just see the headline, Liverpool consulting to get rid of homeopathy. And they'd say, brilliant, well done, Liverpool's consulting to get rid of it. It's about time. Why hasn't this happened sooner? And that's as far as they go. They might put a note up on Facebook, they might put a note on Twitter, but they won't write to the CCG and say, you should get rid of homeopathy for these reasons. So what happens is traditionally the CCG would just get a flood of contact from people who use homeopathy and from homeopaths and from the Faculty of Homeopathy and the British Homeopathic Association and all these other trade bodies that are there to pressure governments into or governmental bodies into making these decisions. And they wouldn't hear from skeptics. So they get a very one-sided view. So the report that came out as a result of this consultation was really significant because what they found was they had 740 people respond, which is unprecedentedly high. And what they found is 75% of them said, or 74% of them said, we would never use homeopathy. And then they looked at the people who were just in the Liverpool area, and 63% of people in Liverpool said we shouldn't be funding homeopathy. And that's really encouraging to say that that's because we were able to not only set up the consultation, but then work with the local community group. And obviously I also run the local community group or co-run it at the Merseyside Skeptic Society. But we were able to corral all the people in the Liverpool area to say this is something that 2 minutes of your time filling in a form can have a genuine impact. And it really, really has, because the CCG, they know it's not a vote. It's not a put this to the public vote as to whether we'll fund it or not. But if they said we're going to get rid of this because of the evidence showing it doesn't work, and 100% of the people who wrote to them said you need to keep it, that would have been a very hard thing for them to justify. But the fact that they've got plenty of people, and in fact the overwhelming majority of people saying you need to get rid of this, and they're already inclined to follow the scientific evidence, it makes it very, very hard for them to go against the decision to stop funding. It makes it very easy for them to say, well, we need to get rid of this now. And that's precisely what happened. So it really is a victory for mobilizing small amounts or very large amounts of small efforts from skeptics, because it took 5 minutes to fill in this online consultation, but it really has made the difference. So it kind of just shows what a body like Good Thinking, where we've got the time to really do stuff, and then a passionate amateur skeptical base who've got a couple of minutes to spare to help out, what we can really achieve if we all kind of work in the right direction, if we're all spotting these opportunities and are all very focused on them, really.
Are you going to write a cheat sheet for the rest of us?
It's something I was actually genuinely thinking about, because I wrote to Harriet Hall. I mean, Harriet Hall, absolutely fantastic skeptic over in the US, because she was at QED when I first gave a talk about this last year, and she was very supportive of the campaign and wrote about it. So I wrote to her to say, here's what's happened, and she said, you should write about this, and we'll publish it in Science-Based Medicine as here's the tactics, the strategy for it, because it has. This is the very fortunate position that I'm in, and the privileged position that I'm honoured to be in, really, being a full-time skeptic, is that we're able to take a step back and look at things in a very strategic way, in a very tactical way, and say, what do we need to do to be able to affect this outcome? So it's not just about what can I see and what can we do, what are we doing, but it's what needs to be done and how do we need to do it and what's the right order and what skills do we need. And that's really what we do with Good Thinking Society, is take that time to try and be pretty methodical in planning out the way that we can look at these things. So yeah, it's a great result in Liverpool, and roll on the one for the world. So I'm sure we have plenty of Skeptic Zone listeners in the UK.
Oh yes,
who can help out with the world consultation, and I can give you a link that'll be in the show notes, I guess, if you're able to do that, Richard, where people can take 2 minutes to fill in the survey online and point out what they really think about it.
Absolutely, yes. I'll certainly add that to the show notes. And folks around the world, especially those in the UK, of course, it's goodthinkingsociety.org is the website you need to visit. Has there been a backlash by the alt-med crowd, the homeopaths?
There has somewhat. And this is something we have to be really sort of attuned to, because back in 2010, when there was this consultation in the world, they decided to get rid of homeopathy, and we were slightly part of that consultation at the last minute. But a few months later, they decided to keep homeopathy because they were challenged by the homeopaths, and we weren't aware of that. We didn't see it because we just didn't have the time and the skills and the expertise and the know-how to monitor these things. So we're going to be watching very carefully, because inevitably the homeopaths will have something to say about this. And I understand why, I really do. I mean, I was in the room at the CCG meeting where they made the decision yesterday, and there were 3 of the people from the homeopathy service who provide homeopathy. and plenty of other patients there too. And speaking to one of the doctors who provides homeopathy, she genuinely can't understand why we wouldn't want homeopathy on the NHS.
Yeah.
And she thinks it must be because we're funded by Big Pharma, and explained to her that's really not it. But she's genuinely upset by it because she absolutely thinks that homeopathy works.
Yeah.
So for her, it's completely crazy that we're challenging this. But of course, I mean, she's a full-time GP as well as a homeopath, but she's in the absolute minority of GPs who think homeopathy works, which is why she's one of the GPs who's providing homeopathy. You know, the fact of her position is necessary for the position she holds. So they will be counteracting this. So far, there have been some pretty interesting statements made to the CCG by various bodies. I mean, the Faculty of Homeopaths here in the UK has said that the entire consultation is redundant or irrelevant or flawed because they, as one of the biggest bodies of biggest professional bodies representing homeopaths, they weren't included in the consultation. Therefore, it doesn't have all the information it needs. But the CCG did point out that it was an open public consultation that they were very welcome to be part of if they'd have bothered writing in, but they hadn't written in. I mean, so that's part of it. And I'm sure there'll be other little things too, but it's something we've got to keep an eye out. But the key really is that if we're able to monitor these things and keep a close eye on them, we think this consultation has been done as fairly as possible. And that was one of the things that we were looking at when the CCG sent us their plans for the consultation. They sent them over to make sure that we, as the people who'd threatened to take them to court, were happy with the consultation. We weren't just looking for we certainly weren't looking for a consultation that would produce the result we wanted, because there is no way that would stand up. So what we were looking for was to make sure this is the fairest consultation possible that will take into account people's views, that would take into account the right kind of evidence, so the best gold standard evidence that's out there, and make sure that this is, as best as can be, a flawless consultation, or as good as it could possibly be. Not just because we wanted this, we had a good understanding and a good belief that in all things being equal, the evidence against homeopathy should be enough to convince people it shouldn't be funded. But also, we didn't want a consultation that had a big flaw in it that would only leave it to be challenged later on. So we're hoping that this is been everything that it needs to be, and that it's been fully robust. But we'll be keeping an eye on these things. You know, we'll be monitoring this. That's the good thing about being in this position, is that we're able to do that. We understand what we're looking for now. We've got the skill sets and resources in terms of expertise and understanding to know what's going on in Liverpool, and what kind of challenges might come from it. If we carry on as we are, and we carry on having the level of impact that we have, we could genuinely be in a place in the next year and a half where the only homeopathy that's available in the NHS is in London. And even that is something that we're putting a lot of our time into investigating and finding some pretty interesting stuff about that. Hopefully I'll be able to come back on the show in the future and tell you a bit more about once we've got something definitive. But we're really getting somewhere, I think. And who knows, maybe soon homeopathy on the NHS will be a complete thing of the past, and the £5 million a year that we waste on these things can be spent on stuff that actually works.
That actually works. And folks, I would also encourage you, if you'd like to do it, the Good Thinking Society have a newsletter, and you can sign up right on their website.
That's true, yes, yeah. You go to goodthinkingsociety.org. We've got a little box there. You can put your email address in, and we'll send you a newsletter periodically every month or two. We also have a donate button. I mean, this is the thing. We are a charity, and it's taken 2 years of our work to get here, and it's a really significant outcome, and hopefully the first of many. But we need support to carry on. That's kind of the nature of being a charity. So if anybody wants to take a look at our site and think, you know what, I think this victory is worth spending a couple of quid on, then we'd be very happy for anything anyone could give us, really. And we'll use that money to do the next thing that we're doing.
Fantastic. Look, folks, I encourage you to subscribe. Go to goodthinkingsociety.org and subscribe to the newsletter. Donate if you can, and get the information from the Good Thinking, which is all about good thinking, really. What can you say? It's a good name for a group. It says it all. Marsh, we look forward to greeting you in person here in Australia at the end of the year. I suspect we'll probably chat to you again before then to have an update on the activities of Good Thinking. Thank you for being part of the 400th episode of the Skeptic Zone 2, by the way. This is an ongoing celebration we're having this week. Well, sort of.
400, eh? 400. That's quite an undertaking. That's something to be very proud of. That's a huge amount of shows.
It certainly is.
Wow.
It certainly is. I'm trying to recall a time in my life where I didn't do this every week, but there you go. But once again, Michael Marshall from the Good Thinking Society, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Richard.
Hello, Richard and all the listeners of Skeptic Zone. My name is Ran Levy, and I'm the producer and co-host of Curious Mind. It's a podcast about science, technology, and history at www.cmpod.net. Each episode will bring you interesting stories from a wide range of subjects, from physics to astronomy and medicine, from arts to science fiction. We strive for the highest production values both in content and in delivery. We already have on the air episodes about German U-boats in the Second World War, about the history of X-rays and the war of currents between Tesla and Edison. Come and have a listen. www.cmpod.net.
The Cass Files with Dr. Cassandra Perryman. And joining me now all the way from Rainbow Beach in Queensland, it's our new reporter, Dr. Cassandra Perryman. Hello, Cassandra.
Hello, Richard.
Wonderful to have you as part of the Skeptic Zone team.
Oh, I am amazingly excited and shaking like a giddy little girl.
Oh, that's quite an image. There you go. Well, don't shake too much like a giddy little girl. We hope to get some interesting reports from you in the near future. But for now, what can you tell our audience about yourself?
Well, as the accent says, I'm not from Australia.
Oh.
I'm a California girl and, was raised a bit of everywhere, but ended up speaking like a Californian and spending most of my life there, and came over to Australia to get my doctorate. So I moved here in 2010. My goodness, it's been that long. I have a PhD in experimental psychology, and basically my dissertation focus was drug and alcohol, but I study just about everything cross-discipline. As long as it has to do with statistics, I'm in the game.
It's quite an interesting little skill set you got there, and I think I look forward one day to you coming along on a Skeptic Zone field trip to a mind-body-wallet day, and you'll see lots of experimental psychology there, I promise.
Oh, yeah, they don't like me much there. Are you sure that's a control? Are you sure? I don't think that's controlled.
You're just the sort of person we're after, absolutely. But the Skeptic Zone listeners know they've heard your voice before because you're the president of the Brisbane Skeptic Society, and I've been running some promotions for you just recently. What can you tell me about that?
Well, I was elected president at the beginning of this year. Very, very happy. It's a great group of people. We organized last year's National Skeptics Convention, and that's where a lot of folks across Australia realized Brisbane Skeptic Society was on the map. We've been around for a couple more years than that. That's all right. We're an active group. We have quite a few meetings. We're very tight-knit. We're always happy to welcome somebody new and even contrary opinions. It's not infrequent to have somebody who is not a skeptic join us and try to test us and convert us. And it's a lot of fun. We're not converted, but it's a lot of fun.
Of course, the convention last year in Brisbane was a huge success. And it was the venue was good and the speakers were top notch, and I think everybody had a good time and the dinner was fun. So yes, congratulations on holding a very successful dinner. And you work with some pretty good people up there in Brisbane.
Oh, fantastic people, fantastic people. I'm not sure if I should be calling them out by name, but We have a very good committee of people that I really think are second to none.
Oh, yes, a fantastic group of people. It's always a pleasure to go up there and see them and take part in whatever they're doing. So, Cassandra Perryman, Dr. Cassandra Perryman, it's so exciting to have you as a new reporter on the Skeptic Zone. And
thank you.
I won't pressure you too much to give us some reports and insights, but when's the next one due? Come on.
Come on, couple weeks?
Couple of weeks? We have to wait that long? I don't know how we're going to do it.
Oh, maybe I can work faster for you.
Oh, thank you very much. No, but seriously, welcome aboard. It's great to announce you as our new reporter on show number 400.
And congratulations on that, Richard, too. That is a huge, huge landmark accomplishment.
Well, thank you very much. It's been a lot of fun, and who knows, maybe there'll be a couple of more Skeptic Zones in the pipeline before I pack it all in.
400 or more?
Maybe. Thank you, Cassandra.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Hi, this is Cassandra, president of the Brisbane Skeptic Society in sunny Queensland, which, well, by Sydney standards, is the north side of Australia. I'd like to invite you to join us at one of our many events. Not only do we have weekly social gatherings all over Brisbane and monthly lectures, we get along so well that once or twice a year we escape our city confines in Brisbane and go traveling together. We're always on the lookout for new ideas, new perspectives, and definitely new speakers. Want to find out more? Please visit us at www.brisbaneskeptics.org or search for Brisbane Skeptic Society on Facebook or Twitter. We hope to see you soon.
Here's Maynard's spooky action at a distance.
We're here at Supernova 2016. I'm here with Maynard. Hi, Maynard.
Hello, Richard.
And Tim Ferguson from the Bunga Bunga and the Doug Anthony All-Stars.
Hey, how are you going, Richard?
And I just want to say thanks to you, Maynard, for contributing. This is episode 400 of the podcast, as you know, 400 Skeptic Zones, 8 years in production, and you've been a part of that for most of the time.
Well, I'm glad I can help out with the time because, I know how hard Richard works on this show, and a few of you should actually contribute to this show because he doesn't get paid at all for it. And to let you know that you should contribute to the show, here's Tim Ferguson to make you feel guilty.
Ba, 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 ba. Yeah, give money. Otherwise, as you can see, look around you, those churches are not going out of business. We need more skepticism, people.
And actually, after spending your day here at Supernova, Tim, are you any more skeptical about anything or less skeptical?
Well, actually, I'm starting to believe. I've seen more than one Spider-Man. I'm starting to think Spider-Man is a real thing.
And Richard, we've only seen 2 fezzes, the Matt Smith Doctor Who fez, only 2 of them.
We have lots of scarves, but we saw a female Thor, and she was just incredible, wasn't she?
A female what?
Thor, the girl.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you thought it had been a costume malfunction or something, did you, Richard?
I was wondering. But anyway, yes, thank you for being such a big part of the Skeptic Zone, Maynard. And thanks, Tim, for your occasional guest appearance.
Oh, yeah, occasional. And I've loved every one of those occasions. Congratulations, skeptics.
Hey, look, I've got to ask you, Tim, this is the one I usually ask all the scientists that come on, and since it's the 400th episode, if there was one woo that was actually true, if there was one sort of pseudoscience that was actually real, Tim, which one would you want it to be?
I would like it to be that meditation is at all effective.
Because it's just so easy to do.
Well, it's so easy to do, and really, meditating involves not doing anything, and that's supposed to make you live longer. And maybe it does make you live longer, but think of the time you've wasted meditating.
Happy 400th, Richard.
Thank you, Maynard.
AstronomyCast takes a facts-based journey through the cosmos as it offers listeners weekly discussions on astronomical topics ranging from planets to cosmology. Hosted by Fraser Kane of Universe Today and myself, Dr. Pamela Gay of Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, this show brings the questions of an avid astronomy lover directly to an astronomer. Together, Fraser and I explore what is known and being discovered about the universe around us. Join us each week as we take a facts-based journey through the cosmos at astronomycast.com.
Now, as we reported last week on the Skeptic Zone, the federal opposition party here in Australia, the Labor Party, and there is a federal election coming up, so both parties, the Liberal Party or the Conservative Party and the Labor Party, are making lots of promises. Well, the Labor Party made a promise to cut taxpayer funding for a raft of alternative medicine. Needless to say, this has caused a bit of a stink, bit of a backlash, a bit of a to-do amongst the alternative medicine crowd. And from the website of the Australian Pharmacy Professionals, or ajp.com.au, we read, Labor complementary rebate cut plan, a false economy. Now, this is reporting on a news release put out on June the 14th by the Complementary Medicines Australia, whose slogan is Natural Health and Wellness. It reads, Shadow Treasurer Chris Bowen announced a raft of cuts last Friday, with Labor leader Bill Shorten reiterating the cuts on natural therapies on ABC's Q&A this week. ABC's Q&A is a weekly TV panel show, usually with politicians. Quote, Labor's plans are nothing more than a false economy, end quote, said Carl Gibson, Chief Executive of Complementary Medicines Australia. Quote, it is an accepted principle that for every $1 invested in preventative health today, Australia will save $10 on chronic diseases in the future. Preventative health is an essential move towards improving the cost-effectiveness of the Australian healthcare system and crucial in taking pressure off overstretched hospitals. Cutting the preventative healthcare rebate would not save money in the long run, but would instead be detrimental to the government's health budget. End quote. Gibson cites Australian Bureau of Statistics data that shows people who have visited a natural therapist were more likely to have healthier behaviours, including eating the recommended minimum serve of fruit and vegetables, exercising more and not smoking. Quote, natural products and therapies contribute to the maintenance of a healthier lifestyle and better quality of life, end quote, he says. Quote, the burden of disease in Australia and the associated economic costs is a progressively top-of-the-mind issue, and the relatively small $40 million a year investment into the rebate for natural therapies is a small price to pay for the long-term health of Australians out of a total spend of more than $105 billion, end quote. And now I'd like to read a reply on the same website by Ken Harvey, who has been described by the Age newspaper as an anti-quackery crusader and is an advocate of evidence-based medicine. And Ken writes, as a public health physician, I certainly agree that a greater investment in preventative health is cost-effectiveness. But as a member of the recent Government Natural Therapies Review Advisory Committee, I remind Carl Gibson, Complementary Medicines Australia, that the review was unable to find good evidence supporting the effectiveness of the therapies investigated. Does Complementary Medicines Australia really believe that providing a private health insurance rebate for therapies such as homeopathy, iridology and herbalism produces preventative health benefits? And where is the evidence that the majority of the natural products promoted and consumed contribute to a healthier lifestyle? The fact that people who have visited a natural therapist were more likely to have healthier behaviour is probably due to the underlying demographic of such people, female, educated and affluent, rather than the specific intervention of a natural therapist. I have no problems with people who make an informed choice to see a natural therapist or consume complementary medicines. I just don't want my taxes to subsidise therapies that lack a good evidence base. And that report and the replies can be found at ajp.com.au. Australian Skeptics National Convention 2016 will be hosted in Melbourne at the University of Melbourne from the 25th to the 27th of November, with the annual dinner being held at Melbourne Zoo on the evening of the 26th of November. Early bird ticket sales are online at the convention website convention.skeptics.com.au, and if you get an early bird ticket, you'll receive a discount and be able to reserve seats close to the stage. We can confirm that speakers for the convention will include Lawrence Krauss, Edzard Ernst, Harriet Hall, Michael Marshall, Katie Mack, and Mel Thompson, with many more great speakers to be announced soon. Nicholas J. Johnson is our MC for the annual dinner. Information about our speakers is available from the convention website. So that's convention.skeptics.com.au.
You're listening to The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, your escape to reality.
And joining me now on the line from all over the United States, yes, it's the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe crew, gang rogues. Hello.
Hey, Richard. Richard, how are you?
Hey, we got Jay Novella.
Hello.
Captain J. Steve Novella.
Hi there.
Bob Novella.
Hey, everybody.
And Cara Santa Maria. Hello.
Howdy.
Really nice to catch up with you, friends. And over the years, we've become more like family than friends. We see each other, well, at least once a year. Over the last 8 years, we've seen each other. We've worked together quite a lot at conventions and so forth. And what a happy collaboration it has been. And it recharges my batteries every time I get to see you guys. And of course, your podcast is, I'm reaching 400, but you guys are what? You must be in the 300s by now or something like that.
Is that Australian math?
That's Australian math. And
571 in case anyone's interested.
Oh, they had to say it. And let me say one thing about the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe. It's amazing, and I'm sure you've heard this before from other people. How many people come to the Skeptic Zone because they heard about the Skeptic Zone on the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, but also how many people front up at Australian Skeptics events like Skeptics in the Pub or whatever because they've heard something by listening to the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe. You must have a lot of listeners in Australia.
We absolutely. We Australia is in our top 5, countries of origin of our listeners, and that's just I think by population they may be the most because they're pretty good in absolute numbers, but you guys are pretty sparsely populated down there. So if you do a per capita, you may be our number one listening country.
We do get a lot of emails from people in Australia as well.
It wouldn't surprise me at all, and we fondly remember your visits to Australia. What a great time we have when you come to Australia.
Best trips.
We had a ball. Yeah, it was so great for you guys to host us down there. We had such fun.
Yeah, the last time when you drove us to Canberra was awesome.
That's something I will never forget. I was the bus driver for the Skeptic's Guide, and all the way down to Canberra from Sydney and back again. The whole time you guys were recording and chatting and making a video, and we were carrying on. That was a really memorable thing, and every now and then I had to pinch myself, and I was thinking to myself, "Don't crash." Don't crash.
You go down as the guy that killed the podcast.
Yes. You would be hunted for the rest of your life.
Because our dear brother George...
Just from our moms.
Yes, that's right. And our dear brother George Harab was on the bus as well.
Yeah. Yep, George was with us on a trip. A lot of fun.
So glad he came with us.
That was fantastic. And anyway, congratulations for you, SGU, for doing what we all do for year after year after year. It's no small effort.
Richard, congratulations to you for hitting 400. Any milestone like that is just really, really impressive.
It's rare.
Yeah.
And rare.
And I think you guys owe me a new bumper. I used to play one, but that was about 5 years ago, and you haven't given me a new one since. So I'll leave that up to you, Jay. Come on.
Absolutely. I will have you one in about a week.
I look forward to it. But folks, Skeptic Zone fans, if you don't listen to the SGU, what's wrong with you? Listen to the SGU. They're almost as good as the Skeptic Zone. I'll have to say that.
We'll try. We keep trying.
But for now, thanks for briefly appearing on the show 400, Skeptic's Guide to the Universe.
Thank you, Richard. Take care.
Thanks, Richard.
Brother.
Australian skeptics here in Sydney have yet another dinner meeting coming up on the 6th of August. How to make skeptics even more attractive. Just when you thought skeptics couldn't be attractive enough. Are there gender differences in perceptions of attraction? What are we looking for in a potential mate? Can you find someone attractive online? And what other features make us more or less attractive? Even skeptics. Dr. Martin Graff, reader in psychology at the University of New South Wales, will be a guest speaker at the next Sydney Skeptics Dinner. He'll look at human attraction, and while attraction is important to us, he will also look at gender differences in attraction and features that men and women find attractive, and the differences between males and females in what they seek in a romantic partner. Not to mention, do opposites really attract? Or does the colour of clothes or the way we smell or who we are make any difference? Dr. Martin Graff is an Associate Fellow of the British Psychological Society and Chartered Psychologist, and is a visiting scholar to Deakin University in Melbourne. It sounds like an interesting evening, and the website says, dress casual, but attractive. And you can book for that dinner, those folks in Sydney, coming up on the 6th of August by visiting www.skeptics.com.au.
Oh, Richard, 8 years on and show 400 is done and dusted. How do you feel?
I feel better after the peanut butter sandwich.
I feel bloated. No, it's
good.
Just
Feels good.
Such an amazing thing that this little thing that we started all those years ago has had such longevity.
You know, and so many things have changed along the years. I mean, all the reporters over the years who have come and gone. And reporters come and go because they contribute and they have lives. A big debt of thank to all the reporters, and the current copper reporters. I think are just fantastic.
That's fantastic.
Oh, and our new reporter, of course, Dr. Cassandra Perryman. Well, hey,
yes, well done. Yeah, but I have to also add that in the last 8 years, it certainly has been quite a victorious time for the skeptic movement.
Yeah.
Because there have been actual laws and proceedings, and there's been cases that have come out, and it's been as a result of people with a skeptical mindset challenging the status quo of the thinking of pseudoscience and all the other claims and things like chiropractic and it's actually made it to legislation and to government levels.
Yeah, it's really
so
good.
We've actually
it's really good,
contributing to make a difference.
Yeah, we're not just sitting here just having fun. We are having fun. But our interview today with Michael Marshall is a wonderful example of that.
Absolutely.
You know, the putting pressure in the right areas and getting results.
Yeah.
That's where it's happening. But I was just before we started recording, I was just showing you that how things have progressed since we've started, and I can actually do the whole show now, editing wise.
Yeah.
If I care to, I can do it all on my iPad.
Really,
it's insane, isn't it?
Wow.
I mean, I've got it's now so advanced that I can do recording to editing to sounds manipulation and to finished products. So next time on a long bus trip somewhere.
Wow! And to think 8 years ago, we used to have like an 8-ton truck full of gear.
We did. Yeah.
We have those hard drives. They used to weigh about 400 kilos.
They did, and we had to wind them up. Remember that?
And the USB sticks, the size of a large mobile phone. It was an incredible time. But we used to get through it then.
Somehow we did.
But now it's just so much easier.
And the reel-to-reel tape. No, we didn't use reel-to-reel tape.
We should have. Yeah, well, it has been a time of change, and I'm sure it will continue to. I think I'm going to go back to my cryogenic chamber.
I think you should. I think you should.
And I think you can come and defreeze me for show 500.
It's a pretty rotten day, actually. You should not have unfrozen yourself because it's raining. It's a bit cold.
No.
I drove over here today from my place to the studios here, and the drivers in this weather don't know how to drive it. Here's a special message for you Sydney drivers out there. A stop sign means stop. Thank you.
Well done, Richard.
Bear that in mind.
Well, let's get on with it. Let's here's to another 100, another 5,000 episodes.
Another 5,000.
Yeah. All the very best. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
See you, Stefan.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for contacts, an archive of all episodes since 2008, and our online store. Please support the Skeptic Zone by following us on Twitter @SkepticZone, liking us on Facebook, and leaving a review on iTunes. You can also show your support by subscribing via PayPal for as little as 99 cents a week. The Skeptic Zone is an independent production. The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian Skeptics Inc. or any other skeptical organisation.
The Skeptic Zone, a miracle of technology.
In Queensland, the state of Queensland, it's our new reporter, Dr. Cassandra Perryman. So exciting. Hello, Cassandra.
Hello, Richard.
Let me do that again. It's our new reporter, Dr. Cassandra Perryman. Now you say hello, Richard.
Hi, Richard. Say my name again.
Okay. It's too early. I've lost the plot. I rarely do this. Okay.